All right, perfect. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. All right, so we are here with Mr. Antwaun Coach T. Thompson. Antwaun, you wear a lot of hats. Youth coach, mentor, author, speaker, podcast educator. Which one of those resonates with you the most? Which one is dearest to your heart, would you say?
The coaching and the mentoring, they kind of go hand in hand for me. Because using the game of basketball as a coaching tool, but it's really about coaching the life skills as well.
Right. Okay. So coaching, you would say, is central. Okay.
Yeah. By far.
Okay. How long have you been doing that, and what levels have you coached? And
yeah, so this is I'm going in my 38th year of actually coaching, and I started coaching in 1985, coaching 10 and 11-year-old boys, and then I coached in high school for 4 years. Coached in assistant coach at Randolph College for 2 years.
Okay.
And coached Richmond Metro Basketball AAU for 4 years. And I am going into my 11th year at the private school where I coach now.
Wow. 38 years. Coach, what
years.
What would you say is something that 38 years has taught you that the average layperson wouldn't know?
That you have to follow your heart, and whatever it is you're looking for will find you if you love what you're doing.
Wow. And would you say that's why you stayed with it so long? You just have a deep love for it?
Yeah, Patrick, to be honest with you, after that first year of coaching, as a matter of fact, you mentioned me being an author. There's a story in my book about my very first year of coaching in 1985. The story was given to me by a player from that team when I told him I was writing the book. And the testimonial or his experience from that my first year told me more about what I gave them than I ever imagined. Going back to my point about when you love something enough, you don't realize that you're finding your own path. And I taught them more than basketball, and I didn't even realize it. But he said that 1 year, my very first year of coaching, was a life changer for him.
Wow. And that's when you got serious about it. That's when you knew you had something special to give to this game.
Absolutely. Wow. And also, if I couple the fact that I got cut from the basketball team every year in high school.
Really?
But I had a love for the game. So it goes to show you, even though you don't get what you want, you still get what you want.
Right. Wow. So how did you first get into coaching? How did all that get started for you?
A friend of mine was a PE teacher, and she reached out to me because she knew I loved basketball. She goes, hey, they've got a league. They don't have enough coaches. Would you be interested in coaching? I'm like, yeah, I love it. And so you appreciate this. The team I got were leftovers. The other coach, they had more players. So he handpicked the players that he wanted. So I was left with the guys that didn't pick. Here's the best part of the story. We ended up with the same losing record as they did.
And he had better players.
What does that say?
What is that telling you?
It's all about how you coach the game is what I found out. And
really?
I think it's about connecting with players. That's the most important thing. If you don't connect with players, you will not succeed at any level in basketball. In my opinion.
You know what I discovered when I was coaching, and you can tell me if you have the same experience, is I was coaching high school basketball. So I had the freshmen and sophomores, and some of their parents would ask me to train their kids outside of school. So I was doing training too. I was doing training and coaching. And what I noticed is that I preferred training because it seemed like as a trainer, you're building skill. As a coach, you're managing skill. and I prefer to build it. What was your experience?
Oh, I think you're 100% right. I think the early part for me of coaching, I was so caught up in the coaching because I wanted to learn as much as I could about the game.
Yes.
And so, the X's and O's, strategies and so forth. But as you go through, you realize as you're doing that, you can't put that strategy together if you don't know or be able to teach the skills that you need to
Ah,
perform that strategy or that skill. So that's when I realized, oh, I have to spend more time developing the player so that we
yeah.
can do the things we want. And that's where I realized that, like now, where I'm at the school, I coach, but I also train year round,
Uh-huh.
and I get more excitement out of the training than I
Yeah.
ever do with the competitive coaching. And I still love coaching, but the
Uh-huh.
training really, I get hyped about that because the kids love learning, and it's all about how
Yes,
you teach
yes.
the game too. And I think that's the other thing that's important.
Yeah. Would you say is your unique style of teaching? Or what makes your style unique? What do you think makes you
My
effective?
as a coach, I think for my experience in working with kids is I never coach or teach the same way with every student. I don't have a cookie cutter
Really?
style of teaching. No, it's all based on the personality because I get to know each one of the kids that I work with. Some are very direct. They just want you to tell them what they need to do.
Yes.
Others, you have to, when they're struggling with a particular skill or you're
Uh-huh.
teaching them something, I always focus on where they're having the most
Mm.
problem and not just focus on the problem. Then I connect on how they learn. Because
Yeah.
once I realize how they learn, then I'm like, okay, I got to be very relaxed with this particular student, and
Yeah.
then they kind of get it better. And other kids are like, yeah, I want to go to the next thing. And I also challenge as they learn something. I don't say, hey, we're going to do. I just start adding things to see what they're willing to do without me explaining it beforehand.
Oh.
And more times than not, they pick it up faster without me explaining it in advance.
Huh. Really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's counterintuitive too. One might think you would have to introduce it and say, "This, we're about to do something new, and this is how we do it, and this is this, and this and that, and now let's do it." But you just kind of sneak it in there.
Yeah, you do. Matter of fact, if I could give you an example, I'm working with a
Yes.
fourth grader.
Uh-huh.
And I actually just finished coaching his older brother the last 3 years. Probably the best player I've ever coached at this school.
Hmm.
And this kid I'm teaching him to shoot left-handed as a fourth grade. He's right-handed. So every Saturday, he's my first lesson every Saturday.
Yeah.
When he walks in the gym, I don't do anything. As soon as he walks in the gym, I say hello to his dad. He and his dad and I,
Yeah.
exchange pleasantries or whatever. He goes and picks up the weighted ball, goes to the side of the backboard, and he has to shoot 10 right hand, 10 left hand, and they all have to come straight back. He does that without me
Oh.
saying a word. So that's how committed he is. And I don't
Yeah.
push him or anything. He just wants to get better.
Hmm.
And I say, I really want to work on your left hand. Now, whenever we do a drill, he'll ask me right-handed or left-handed.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
he knows how important it is for him to put in that time and that extra work.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Coach, what would you say is the secret to getting the most out of an athlete?
Not asking too much of them and getting to know what makes them tick. If you can connect with a kid and
Ah.
know what makes them tick, you can get them to do
Uh-huh.
anything. And I'm honestly, I'm not a yeller or a screamer type coach.
Uh-huh.
My belief is if you're coming in the gym, you want to get better. And I just say before you leave this gym, make sure you leave here better than when you walked in. And that's all about a mindset. So when they come
Yes.
in, they're ready to learn. So I don't have to go, hey, you got to listen to me. And that's the environment
Hmm.
that not only with the team I coach, but with my nonprofit, that is
Hmm.
the environment that we have when the kids come in, they pick up a ball, they warm up, I blow the whistle, they go rack the ball up, circle up, and we get to business.
Wow. Not a yeller or a screamer. I grew up with yellers and screamers, and I can tell you, I
Right.
didn't learn anything, coach. I was a really good player. I had skill one on one or with pickup ball. I was really good. I was one of the better players out there. But when it came to learning organized basketball on that team with that yeller and screamer, I could not figure out why we ran plays. Like he would tell us, do this and screen away, and all these terms I wasn't familiar with. And I was like, why do we do this? I didn't understand it. And really, in reflecting on it, all I needed was for a coach like you to just say, this is why we do this. If we do this, it makes scoring easier. It makes us more efficient. And now you give me the big picture, and now I understand it. But that yelling and screaming, I don't think that's the way to teach kids. It's,
It really is, and if I can honestly tell you, my philosophy where I coach now, I have one rule when it comes to what we do offensively,
uh-huh.
and that is the player with the best opportunity to score gets the ball. Now, what that's done is makes everybody work hard because everybody wants the
Right,
ball, and it's
right.
not about just running. So we run our principal offense and we don't run plays. But now everybody's like, well, and it does not matter who scores as long as we as a team.
Right.
Because our motto is team before self, meaning it does not matter who scores, but the player with the best opportunity. So now everybody's screening, everybody's cutting hard to the basket, and it naturally progresses. And you appreciate this. The first part of every year, I don't allow kids to shoot any jump shots.
Really?
And when I say that, inherently, everybody starts playing harder because they know they can't shoot anything but layups or short 2 or 3, 4 foot jump shots.
Okay. That's huge, coach, in this day when everybody wants to shoot the 3-pointer from the free throw, from the half court line. Wow, you take that away.
Yeah, you take that away and it totally changes your mindset. But the other part when you said about yellers and screamers, what's interesting is my approach. Almost every year, probably the second half of the season, we have timeouts or in between quarters. I speak less and less as the season goes on. The players take over the communication because I want them. It's important because they have to know what, going back to the why you do something.
Yes.
Well, we've already practiced the player with the best opportunity to score gets it.
Right.
Well, now they're seeing opportunities as they're playing. Now they're telling each other, hey, when I do this, I'm going to be looking for you in this position. Or when we get this is what we do. And I just zip it up and listen to them, and I'll either agree or I'll, then that's when I'll chime in. It's not that everything they say is right. But I give them the freedom to take ownership of their own success. And so they learn how to be leaders. Yeah.
It sounds like you really engage their intelligence and trust their intelligence rather than being someone who just barks orders at robots. It's kind of type of thing. Like, you give them a lot of freedom, a lot of responsibility, a lot of autonomy, and then trust with that. That builds a guy up.
Oh, it really does.
That might be the answer to my next question. I was going to ask, how do you get their buy-in? How do you get players to buy into your system? Like they probably join the team thinking, I'm going to be the next Steph Curry. I'm going to be they have these ideas that they come in with. How do you get them to make those ideas secondary and buy into your system?
I will sum it up by what a sixth grader said. I coach 7th and 8th grade boys, which is our varsity because we only go to 8th grade. We were playing an away game last year, and our JV team had played before us. The varsity team's warming up. One of the 6th graders comes up to me, and he says, Coach, I can't wait till next year to get to play for you. And I'm like, and he told me, he goes, I just love the way you coach. And so
a 6th grader said this?
Yeah, this is a 6th grader saying that. So I think that kind of answers your question because they see what I do. We overlap our practices, so they get to see it. So they see how I coach versus, our JV coach, we have different styles. It's not wrong. It's just his style.
Right.
And I think the kids just resonate more with my style because, like I said, I'm not a yeller and a screamer. But you know as well as I do, if I do get loud, they know it's not good.
Right.
Right? And I do it on occasion just to keep them honest.
Yes.
So don't say I never do, but I do it sometimes just so they know, hey, he never yells. Oh my gosh, he's mad.
This time, this is serious. Right. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you. I have to ask you this too because I had this experience. How do you handle mistakes? Now, my experience was if you make a mistake on the court, you can look at the sideline because your replacement's already going up to the bench to pull you out. How do you handle mistakes? Like I always thought that crushes confidence when a guy makes a mistake and he knows he's getting pulled out. How do you handle that when they make a mistake?
Number one, I never embarrass a kid by taking him out of a game. So if he makes a mistake, just learn from him. I kind of communicate with him in between whistles or whatever. Mm-hmm. If I do bring a player out, it's to teach. It's a teaching moment. And then I put them right back in the game. Right. So if a player comes out, when our players come out, they know that, okay, I'm in trouble. No, I'm actually going to get to learn something. And we have a conversation. It's not a yelling, what are you doing? It's hey, that's not what we do. Or, hey, listen, in that situation, this is what we want to do. Now get back in there and do it right. So they get to go right back in. And I believe in you make a mistake, you learn from it, you forget it, and you move on.
Yes. That part, they go back in the game. That is huge. Because I remember times when guys would make a mistake and that's it. They wouldn't play anymore for the rest of the night. Coach is mad. Like that's he knows it. Coach is mad at me. I'm not getting back into this game. And just imagine what that does to that kid's confidence. The next time he's in the game, he's all jittery because he doesn't want to make that mistake again. But
Right.
when
And
you
that's what you
put it
don't
back
want players
in,
to do. Yeah.
right.
That's what you don't want them to do. You want them to feel confident. Like, hey, coach knows I'm going to make a mistake. And then and in practice, I just point out the mistakes. It's not like, hey, what are you doing? They go say, this is not what we do. Or I ask questions. That's the other part. I always ask questions to make sure they understand. Back to your point, if the coach just says, run a play, do this, do that, you become a robot. But if you ask questions, get answers, now you get to know if they understand it or they just going through the motion because that's what you want them to do.
Right. Let me ask you a couple of questions. First one is, did you always know that? Did you always coach that way? Or did you have some lessons along the way that taught you to coach like that? And then the second one is, who was your coaching mentor, if anyone?
Yeah. I think it was through the experience and learning because don't get me wrong, I made mistakes as a coach. I was a yeller and a screamer at one point. And I think I realized that it kind of segues into your second question about my mentor. My mentor is Mike Sutton. Mike Sutton was the varsity coach at Meadowbrook High School, but then he went on to coach with Tubby Smith at Tulsa, Georgia, and when they won the national championship at Kentucky, he was assistant coach there and became a head coach at Tennessee Tech. And I actually just spoke with him last night. We had about an hour conversation.
Really?
He lived about an hour from me, and we talk at least once every couple of months. And we go visit on time to time. But I wouldn't be where I am. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation if it weren't for the experience that he taught me.
Really?
And you appreciate this. When he taught me in 1980, I started coaching there in 1989 and 88. And when what he taught me in 1988 are still the same philosophies that I use in my coaching today, because I'm a strong believer, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think a lot of coaches spend too much time saying, "Oh, what's the new thing that everybody's doing?"
Yes.
And I stick with what works, and everybody's forgotten about how the game was played, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and I'm killing them with what 35 years ago.
Those basics. Wow, that may be the answer to the next question I have. How have players changed? You've been doing this 38 years. How have the players changed? And does that necessarily mean you have to change as a coach?
You do have to be aware. I don't think you have to change as a coach. I think you have to adjust your style to fit the changing players. Like, for instance, I'm a strong believer that the game's become too individualized in a team concept. I mean, I think in the 2-on-2, the 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, your individual skills stand out a little bit more because number one, fewer players, more space, you could do a lot more.
Right.
Well, in a 5-on-5 setting, it is so important that you gel as a team and understand that every player has a different role. One player, just like I like to use the Bulls as an example.
Yes.
You had two scorers. I mean, Jordan could score, Pippen could score. And then you'd have a couple of the guys that would steadily put the points in, but then you have a Rodman. He wasn't on the court to score. He was on the court to play defense or rebound.
Right.
He knew his role. He accepted his role,
Yeah.
and he never tried to do any more than was necessary. And that's the same thing that's what coaches have gotten away from. Everybody's gone to this that's positionless basketball, which means everybody can do everything.
Yes.
And I think that's where everybody gets lost. You can have positionless basketball, but everybody still has to have responsibility.
Right. And know that and accept that and be able to function in that role. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I'll give you an example. On our team, no one's allowed to shoot 3-pointers unless they shoot 70% in practice. We put 10 balls on a rack. You got to make 7 out of 10 before you're allowed to shoot a 3 in a game. Two things happen. Number one, it immediately tells guys, well, I won't be shooting. So they know they're not that good. Or it makes them put in the extra time to improve their shooting.
That. Right.
You don't have to do it one time.
Excellent.
You only got to do 7 out of 10 one time.
That is a brilliant idea. Because it's like you put that roll out and that addresses the issue for you. So you're not having to scream at guys because they suddenly take a 3-point shot out of nowhere in the game.
Right.
They automatically know. Wow, that is brilliant. And then if they really want to do that,
do it. They'll work. Well, you appreciate why I came up with this because I think it was 5 years ago. We had a game. We were playing a game, and one kid hit a 3. The next 4 possessions, nothing but 3s. Everybody started jacking them up. So one shoots, everybody thinks the green light for everybody.
Right.
How do I fix? Well, the first thing I did was I did yell that time. I said, no more 3s. And so then I implemented this rule, and it
Yeah.
is stuck ever since. And now some of them actually, a lot more of them try to improve their shooting. And the
Right.
others are like, okay, I know I'm not that good. I'll just focus on what I do well.
Right. Man, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, switching gears a little bit because I really want to talk about your nonprofit as well. You mentioned you have a nonprofit, JLT Fieldhouse. Please tell us what that is, what the mission is, what its function and purpose is.
Yes. It's so JLT Fieldhouse, believe it or not, Patrick, it was a vision, both as an honoring my late father,
Uh-huh.
who was not my biological father. He adopted me when I was about 3 years old. And when he passed in 1996 from leukemia, he was in the Marine
Mhm.
Corps for 30 years and served in Vietnam and 2 tours of Vietnam and passed away from leukemia from his exposure to Agent Orange. And I spent a long time trying
Oh,
to find a way to honor my dad. And I was like, you
yeah.
know what? I wouldn't be the man I am today if it weren't for him. So whatever it is I do, I want to make sure that he is a part of it. And so I
Yes.
named a
Yeah.
nonprofit. And JLT stands for his name, Joe Louis Thompson. So it's Joe
Okay.
Louis Thompson
Okay.
Fieldhouse. And the second reason it started is because I didn't make the basketball team in
Uh-huh.
high school. And I said, I don't want anybody else to have to go through what I did. I didn't work to get better. So I want to set up something
Oh,
to allow kids the opportunity to get better. So
yeah.
our philosophy is we don't train kids to try out for their school team. We train kids to
Right.
make the team.
Yeah. I
So when they
like
say,
that.
I said, well, what do you guys have tomorrow? I said, well, I'm going to make the team. I said, we're not going to try. They may call it tryouts, but you're going to
Right.
make the team,
Right. Right.
right?
Wow.
Yeah. So we do one-on-one training,
Mhm.
group clinics. We have
Mhm.
we have summer camps as well as a summer league, and we work with kids as young as kindergarten. And I
Mhm.
also train a couple of college kids. I think I have 2 college kids I train on occasion, but
Wow.
the bulk of our kids are middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school. Okay. And you
Yes,
have a summer league program. So
right.
this is running year round.
It runs year round, the clinics and the private lessons,
Hmm.
and I'd love to share with you our summer league is very
Yes.
unique. I'm the only adult in the summer league. All of our coaches are high school players, and they're coaching the younger kids. So they're coaching
Really?
4th through 6th graders and 7th through 9th graders.
Yeah.
And what's so great about that is it number one, it teaches the high school kids to start establishing their leadership skills.
Right.
Secondly, it allows them to understand the relationships and what their coaches go through when
Hmm.
they're expecting them to do things. So
Right.
now they're
Right.
coaching kids
Wow. That's
and they'll
great.
understand the frustrations. So now when they go back, and I wasn't sure how it would go, it has gone so much better than I could ever imagine. So much so that I had more kids request to be coaches than I needed. That's how much they enjoyed it.
Wow.
And so what I did was I actually brought in more coaches, made one a head coach, one
Mhm.
assistant. The more experienced players were the head coaches.
Mhm.
But I only had certain stipulations that they had to teach, which were things
Yeah.
I've been teaching them for the previous years. They have
Right.
to be in a program for at least 3 years before they can be eligible to be a coach, which all of them were. All of them been in for a
Right.
minimum of 5 years. But like the basic offense, the basic defense,
Uh-huh.
I wanted all the kids to learn. But I gave them the freedom to put in any other things that they wanted to.
Yeah.
So as long as it's just like any JV team, like you were coaching and I did, the varsity
Right.
coach
Right.
wants the kids to learn certain skills,
Hmm.
but you get to be creative as a coach as well.
Right. So these high schoolers who coach at your program, they're not just high schoolers from any other high school. They have to have come up through your program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They have to be in our program, and then
That,
it's a phenomenal experience. And matter of fact, I'm going to send you. I have a couple clips. You can see a couple of these
yes.
high school girls coaching. They
Please.
are all in. They
Please.
are all in.
Man, that's brilliant too because you get a double benefit there. They get the
Right.
experience of being a coach, so they get to see what it's like, and then that helps them to interact with you better when their time comes to be coached. Wow, they get to develop the skills of these. That is brilliant,
Right.
man.
Well,
That's
and the
brilliant.
funny thing was when I sit back watch, actually, and I'll be honest with you, I got emotional in one game watching because I was
Uh-huh.
like, man, if people realize how great kids are, if you just give them an opportunity to show you what they're
Yeah.
capable of doing, and not just the kids on the floor playing, but watching these teenagers,
Wow.
15, 16, 17-year-olds in their element. I mean, because they're absolutely
Yes.
loving it. And then I have a timeout, they're drawing up plays or the last second plays. I'm like, where did you learn all that? Like, coach, we listen to you. And but the great thing about it, I say our mission statement is coaching and mentoring the leaders of tomorrow. Well, now we
Okay.
have coaches
Oh.
that are mentoring, coaching and mentoring the leaders
Yes.
of tomorrow. So now we have next generation coaches and mentors.
Wow. So you're actually doing it. That's not just a
Yeah.
statement. You're actually doing it, and you have a great
Yeah.
system for doing it as well. Well, it's
We
like you get
really
a whole
do.
lot. You get a lot out of that system. That's
We've
great.
had two kids that have done. We've had two kids that have done their senior projects in our organization, because they've been in the program doing the one-on-ones, the private lessons, summer
Yes.
leagues, summer camps for several years, and they're like, man, we love this organization, and they started asking me how I run the business, and
Yes.
like, I want to do my senior project on JLT Fieldhouse. I'm like, wow, yeah,
Mm.
I'm very honored. But they said they got that much out of it, so I know that what we provide does matter.
Right, right. Please tell me what's next for JLT. What's the next big thing? Like I know you mentioned you wanted a facility.
Silly. Yes. So we started a campaign, a funding campaign. We have a GoFundMe campaign, and we are raising money to do two things, actually, because we partnered with RTG Group, which is
Okay.
Receiving Through Giving. And we are going to be helping feed homeless and needy kids in our community, but also acquiring sustainable funding for our organization, which will allow us to get our own facility. And we have a couple of other opportunities, believe it or not. One of them's with you.
Yes,
And we
yes.
really want
We're going to
to,
talk about
yeah,
that.
yeah, we
Yes,
want to talk
sir.
about that. But the sky is the limit, because I think I have a mentoring program, which is
Mhm.
a non-athletic component, and I want to tie that mentoring program into our basketball program once we get our facility. It's almost like think about a before and after school program where we get to help kids with whatever it is, but also teach them the life skills that they're not getting in school.
Okay. Would you please say a little bit to anyone out there who might be considering donating to your GoFundMe, or maybe on the fence, maybe want more information about where the money's going to go and why they should donate?
Did you? Absolutely. I love to. I appreciate the opportunity. If you care about the next generation of leaders, which are our kids, it really behooves you to take advantage of this opportunity, because we talk so much about the next generation not being lazy and not being or wanting everything. We want to teach them that they need to work for everything, and we have an environment that makes them do that and makes them want to do it. So if you are a company and you have allocated monies that you want to donate to a nonprofit or a charitable organization, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we greatly appreciate you considering us as a donor, being a donor for our organization.
Yeah. And you have an effective program that has proven success. So
Absolutely. 7 years.
7 year success.
Yeah.
Great.
7
And
years of success. Yes. And if I can tell you, and if you want to know how successful it is, the team where I coach, we've been to 7 consecutive championship games. We've won 5, and we just finished our 4th consecutive championship. Went undefeated, 3 undefeated seasons in those 5 championships, and all of those kids have been in our program. So that's where they're learning it, and it just pays off when they get on the school team.
So you have a winning formula there. Wow.
Absolutely.
Great. And now RIMPAGE. So RIMPAGE is a one-on-one basketball league on a mission to find the best basketball player in every city, every state, every country. The unique thing about this league is it's an unlimited capacity. So we're doing basketball in a way that's different from the way it's been done the past 75 plus years. But that model that we've been using is restrictive, because you only have a certain number of teams, you only have a certain number of roster spots, and once those spots are filled, there's no room for anyone else. But with RIMPAGE, every player has an opportunity to get all the rewards their talents deserve by playing one-on-one for their city's championship. City champions go on to the state championship. State champions go on to represent their country in the national championship. And then ultimately, we have 200 national champions that battle in the Lions tournament to see who's best in the world. Huge vision.
Yeah.
Huge vision. Talk about this opportunity and what you think about RIMPAGE and how it fits in with your vision.
Well, number one, Patrick, when I first heard, when you first told me about it, I'm like, okay, I talk so much about team. Why would a one-on-one tournament or organization or franchise be important to JLT Fieldhouse? But after thinking about it, I'm like, there are so many kids that don't get opportunities because of, number one, it may be finances. They can't afford to take lessons. or they want to be that standout player, but they're not really given the opportunity because
Right.
you know as well as I do. Unfortunately, in a lot of high school, there's a lot of politics. You make the team, but you
Right.
don't get an opportunity, depending on pressures from parents or administrators or whatever. But I also think the big part is that you get an opportunity to empower, and that's the word I love using. It gives the opportunity to empower kids to take ownership of their own success, because
Right.
now you put them on the floor, and now you're also putting them in the spotlight to go, well, you know, I talk about I'm a good offensive player, but
Right.
you got to play defense too, right?
Right. Yes,
So
sir.
now when people see them, you know, a coach may be, why didn't I know about that kid? Well, guess what? You didn't give him a fair chance. If you give him a chance, this is what you would have, what you still could have, because
Yes,
they may be
sir.
still young enough to
Yes,
do it,
sir.
right?
Sir.
And I also think that what I love this RIMPAGE is because we're partnering with another nonprofit that helps get scholarship money for kids to go to college.
Right.
So even if they don't get that opportunity,
Mhm.
we still can help them get the money to go to school and even play, because you know,
Right.
as well as I do, we still know coaches that coach in
Yes.
college that we can
Yep.
get them connected with. So I want to do any and everything, and every layer, every opportunity that
Mhm.
comes for us, like RIMPAGE, is one I definitely got to take advantage of, because it only helps not only our organization, but it helps our community.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said the key word a couple of times is the big word is opportunity. No
Right.
kid left behind, no player left behind. So maybe you can't get on the
Exactly.
path to get to a D1 school. Maybe you can't even get into a D3 school. NAIA school won't pick you up. You still have an opportunity to play professionally and get all the rewards that your talent deserves. And then there's no reason why, if you do really well on RIMPAGE, you won't catch the eye of some coach somewhere who needs a scorer. And maybe you're showing in this one-on-one platform that you're a great scorer. You can create your own shot. You can take care of yourself on defense. They can put you on a guy and know you'll lock that guy up. Yeah,
Right.
we need a guy like that. Let's bring him in. So opportunity, no player left behind. That's huge. That's something we've never had before in
Before.
basketball. A
Yeah.
platform that says anybody can play here, so no player gets left behind. And what that means is we're going to find the next big star in basketball. That guy who's really good, really talented, but maybe he couldn't get into a D1 school, fell through the cracks. We're going to discover that guy, and then we're going to put him
Yeah.
right back in the system where he's now a viable candidate for a team. So
Well, I think
huge.
the other part, the other thing that's really important, this is from my end, how I'm always thinking about making them better, not
Uh-huh.
just players, but people. So as they're going through this process with RIMPAGE,
Mm-hmm.
we're also teaching them how to be men, how to be respectful,
Yes,
how to
sir.
communicate, so that you
Yes, sir.
market yourself right.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
playing one thing is one thing, but if you can't
Yeah.
communicate your play into words and really
Yes.
wow people and being
Mm-hmm.
humble, you know, because once
Mm-hmm.
people see that, when they see that you're humble and you know that you've worked for what you've gotten, they'll appreciate you even more, and that also
Right.
raises your stock.
Right. That's one reason I'm excited to work with you and others like you is you're interested in building character. Like, we don't just see athletes as commodities to use and throw away. We really want to build, like for RimPage, we want to build them into competent professionals. I see
Right.
athletes as business professionals who will leverage their athletic ability to create generational wealth. That's a huge shift, isn't it?
Oh,
We're
it's
going to teach these
huge.
athletes to leverage their athletic ability to create generational wealth, so that when they quit the game, that money is still taking care of them and their families. That's
And
what we're
that's what
trying
we're
to
help
do.
them with.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and
We
that's I
have.
love. That's the thing that I loved about it too,
Mhm.
is that it's not just about their athletic aspects of it. You
Right.
know, you shared it with me, and the first time I was like, man, I like this, because this is what. Now, don't forget about school, but
Mhm.
this is just what community's not teaching
Yes.
kids.
Right.
So,
Right.
right,
Yep. It's sort of the entrepreneurial spirit. And to speak to your point earlier, we have at RimPage something called the diamond formula. And there are 6 points on that diamond. The story of every professional athlete can be told with that diamond. If he did really well, is because he did all 6 of those points really well. If he messed up somewhere, is one of those areas where he messed up. The one you were talking about would be the branding part, where you take care of
right,
your brand. And what that means is you do everything that's necessary to deliver on your promise. Like, let's say you do get the contract. So now you have their money, you have this slot, this opportunity. Now you have to deliver on the promises, which means you got to get on the floor and perform and show that they made a great decision when they picked you. And that doesn't just mean building your skill in the gym. It also means staying out of trouble. It also means taking care of your body. Like if you end up in jail, you can't perform, or if you're overweight, you can't perform. All of that is part of your brand. It's what you deliver when you step on the floor. And so we teach that, how to take care of your brand, how to represent or present yourself on your social media so that you become a viable candidate for sponsorships and endorsements and things like that. There's a whole lot
to it. You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. I'm glad you mentioned social media, because that was what I was about to say too. Is being on the court's one thing, but it's what you do when you're not on the court that may bury you. And as well, there's been a lot of people that lost opportunities because of things they said. So I love that, and I love that Diamond. That concept. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I look forward to hearing more about those 6 points as well.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm looking forward to doing more with you and your organization. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I know we took up a lot of time coaching because I really want to pick your brain on that. You have 38 years worth of knowledge and experience, and we didn't get to hear a lot of your stories either. I know you have a lot of good stories, so I want to bring.
I'd love to share one if I could.
Yes, please. Share one with you? Yes.
Yeah, so this is there are so many great stories, but there's always stories that I think transcends all of them. And this particular one happened last year, and I think I shared it with, but I'd love to share it with your audience.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, I coach 7th and 8th grade boys, and I talk about empowering. Accountability and responsibility are first and foremost when it comes to our team concept. And every player has bought into that, and so much so that this story truly exemplifies that to the fullest. So we had a player that broke a team rule last year, and I had no idea that he had broken the team rule, and I only found out about it a day later from 2 of the 8th graders that came to me and said, "Hey, coach, we had a 7th grader that did the opposite of what you told us to do."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Holy crap, man! You calling your teammate out like that?" So I'm like, "Well, first question I asked was, well, what do you think we should do about it? Not me as a coach. What do you think we should do about it?" And within 10 seconds, Patrick, they said, "Make him sit in the bleachers and watch us run." And I'm like, Lord have mercy. So you're willing to take the punishment for his mistake? He goes, "That's the only way he's going to learn." This goes to show you players knowing their teammates.
Yes.
What's the impact that it's going to have on them? So when we had practice later that night, I called the young man over that had broken the team rule. And I said, "Did you do X, Y, and Z?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I did." And I didn't ask him why, because obviously that's the irrelevant question. Right. So I said, "Okay, we'll go have a seat." So I had this guy's running. I hate that word that the S word that they say players run. I don't like using that word. So we run red lines, which is our volleyball lines. They got to hit.
Right. Yeah, right? I know which word you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't know about. Yeah. I don't like using that word. So we so I had guys run. I mean, and I mean like 2 of them. I mean, they ran till they were like gassed. And I looked at the kid. You could tell he's about to cry because he knew he was the reason his teammates were taking his punishment. So I'm saying to myself, okay, that's good. And I told the guys, I told them before, I said, "I love this punishment that you chose, but I'm going to use it as my punishment for him. And if you guys want to do anything else, that's on you."
Yeah.
Well, they got together after practice and they had a little meeting lasted about 5 minutes. And they came over and said, "Coach, we discussed it as a team with him there. And we decided that for our next game, which happened to be our alumni game, that he would not get to play, nor would he get to dress out." And I'm like, wow. And I said, "Hey, this team decision, I'm fine with it. That's what you said." So I asked the young man, I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Now, I asked the young man, do you understand what's going on here?" He goes, "Yes, sir." I said, "What are you going to do now?" He goes, "Go home and tell my parents why I'm not going to be playing or dressing out for the next game." Takes parents out of the communication with me, puts ownership on the players, and then they go from there. We never brought it up again. Nobody teased him about it or anything. Lesson learned. Remember, we talked about making mistakes. You make a mistake, you learn from it, you move on. And that's what we did. We moved on from it. And that was an experience where I say, again, going back to what I was talking about the summer league, put kids in a position to succeed and make the right decisions. They'll make the right decisions if you give them the opportunity. Even if they don't, they're going to learn from them.
Man, I love how you empower them. Like you said, what are we going? What do you think we should do about it?
We should do.
And imagine how that lifts their own esteem of themselves, and that just elevates them to make them like, if coach is trusting me to make this decision, then I must be capable of making this decision. And they see themselves differently.
Right.
And they
absolutely.
Wow, they ride that trust that you have in them, and it drives them to earn it.
Oh,
rather than
absolutely.
the opposite, being suspicious of them and driving them with commands and things. Man, that's 38 years. That's 38 years will give you that, won't it?
It will. Now, I would love to share one thing that any
Yes.
coaches out there, this is my coaching tip, and this is something that could truly change your player's mindset. I no longer use the phrase playing time. Playing time is irrelevant. I started using this again about 5 years ago. Everything changed for me about 5 years ago as a coach, and I've seen nothing but success from it. And that is, I now use the phrase contributing to the success of the team. Now, why that's important, you can contribute to the success of the team whether you're on the court or off the court.
Yes, sir.
The other reason is we play 24 minutes. I can have a player play for 12 minutes and do absolutely nothing, but I can put a player in for a minute and a half and he can score 4 points, get 2 rebounds, and get a block. Who has provided more for the team? A player with less time or more time? And this is what gets parents too involved because they're worried about how much their kid plays.
Right.
When the coach starts teaching quality of time and contribution to the success of the team, it changes how kids play because now they're going to be putting forth more effort because, hey, I want to stay on the floor. And in order to stay on the floor, I got to contribute to the success of the team. Play harder on defense, box out, rebound, move my feet on defense, make better passes, cut harder. I don't want to give the coach a reason to take me off the floor. So that's my big tip. That's my 38 years, and that's the one that I think is top for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of the shift that occurs in their mind. It's not just about the number of minutes you were on the floor. It's what did I do to contribute? And they can be on the floor, like you said, a minute and contribute a lot and go home feeling great about the way they played, rather than just thinking I was only in the game 2 minutes.
Right. And then the flip side of, we talk about be in the game even when you're not in the game. What you do on the bench is more important to me than what you do on the court. And you've probably seen a lot of kids just sit back and wait their turn. Well, I don't allow that. I don't allow it because you have to be engaged, because I will purposely, like as well as I do, every coach, this is not anything new. Every player has their best player and they have their least experienced player. Let's call them that, least experienced. I will randomly put the least experienced player in the first quarter of a game just to make sure that they're on top of their game. And they all know that they'll be called at any given time. So they're always engaged. And our kids get in trouble most games because officials have to tell them to sit down because they're standing up so much because they're so engaged in the game. And that's what you want.
Supporting their teammates. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I want to come to one of your games.
Hey, that's tell you, man, we're experience. You'll see it. You'll see if you go. We have some games on YouTube, and I actually watch them, and I'm just I'll watch them, and I'm amazed. Even the coach, you coached before. It's great to see the kids, but then you're like, man. No, you don't say I did a good job because they really gel well. They really bought into what I was trying to get them to do. And when you see it work, man, it is
beautiful,
amazing,
beautiful,
beautiful thing, man. Beautiful.
Wow. Well, Coach, thank you so much. We've run out of time, but I definitely want to have you on again because there's more to discuss. There's more to discuss. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Do you have any parting words, either for players, for coaches, for anyone that might want to donate? We'll talk about your book next time.
For players. Hey, listen, if you want to be the best player, you got to put in. You get out of it what you put into it. If you put nothing in it, don't expect to get anything out of it, and don't go running to mom and dad because mom and dad aren't going to decide how much you get, how much you can contribute to the success of your team. Trust your coach, and if anything, ask your coach what you need to do to get better, because this is something that players forget to do. Because as soon as you say that, the responsibility shifts from you to that coach. And if that coach doesn't give you those tips, then that coach is sending you the wrong message as a player. Because every player that comes to me, I tell them exactly what they need to work on to get better. And they go and in turn tell their parents. And by the way, our players tell their parents on our first day of practice, they go home and tell their parents, don't coach from the stands because I'll get pulled from the game. Because I don't tolerate that at all. At all. And this is what I tell them. Because you're circumventing the work that the boys and I are doing every day in practice. You want them to shoot, I want them to swing.
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Wow, Coach, you put in a lot of things that take care of a lot of issues before they arise, and you can just sit back and watch your system work for you. I love it,
and
man.
somebody's got to be. Well, I think Patrick did. No, don't get me wrong. Now, yeah, I've taken some backlash from it, but at the same time, if somebody doesn't step up and stop this trend, it's only going to get worse.
Right,
And
right. Yeah,
more and more
right.
kids are not playing. Officials aren't officiating. Coaches are quitting because of this. And we're going to
Oh,
lose a lot of good. We're going to keep losing coaches. I've been reading
right.
story after story after story, and coaches don't want to deal with parents.
Oh,
So you got to take them out of the equation, but you have to empower the kids to
right,
help you take them out of the
right.
equation.
Wow. Yeah, like you said, it's the kid telling the parent, please don't do this or I'll
Right.
get pulled. Love it.
Yeah.
So much different than you telling them.
Oh,
Wow,
sure. They're
man.
going to be like, who do you think you are? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, look at the wall.
Right, right, right. Right.
Yeah, look at the wall. That's who I am.
Coach, again, I
Man.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time. We're definitely having you on again. All right, you guys take care.
Thank you, man.